Welcome into episode 4 of the Softball Honest podcast. I am your host and managing editor, Maren Angus Combs. I'm by myself again this week, but it's okay. I promise. I'm not alone. My dog is right next to me. She can be my acting co-host. But, part of having this podcast is to bring interviews to you about whatever viral moment is going on or big game or big matchup on the horizon. And this week is no different than that, right? Joining me this week is Anna Hinde, a catcher from Florida State, who has gone viral in the most epic way possible. It's not for a home run. It's not for a caught stealing. It's not for any play that you would have thought. It is for getting hit by a pitch. And the hit by pitch has gone viral. It's everywhere. Every person you know has probably posted about it or commented on a video of it. The ball came rolling in and she held her ground, took her pitch, and then Ashton Danley behind her hit a grand slam. So the interview with Anna is hilariously awesome, and we had the best time doing it. I can't tell you enough how appreciative I am of you listening in on this podcast or watching this podcast from wherever you are. And the next few minutes with Anna just shows why I do what I do. But without further ado, let's welcome in Anna to the show. Anna, thanks for joining me this morning. I know we've had some technical difficulties already. We can joke about it all we want.
Yes.
But let's talk about what happened and why you have gone viral, because this is insanity. And everywhere I look, every outlet, everything is the clip of you getting hit by a pitch, but it's probably the easiest hit by pitch you've ever had in your life.
100%. Most free base I'll ever take, and I'll take it all day, every day. So, awesome.
I'm sure it left a bruise, right?
Percent. I've been icing it, don't worry. But we're moving and grooving now.
No need, no time off, no injuries, nothing. No. Well, what was your reaction though to seeing everyone? I'm gonna say everyone because it feels like everyone posting that clip of you.
Honestly, my first reaction was just shock. I was like, oh my gosh, like, there's no way. Like, this game, this felt like just like a small little sliver of a moment. And what an incredible game where we had Ashton Danley come up and hit a grand slam. We had Maren Heller making web gems, Jason Eacham diving on the field. Like, there were just so many fantastic plays throughout the game that the hit by pitch just felt like a little bloop in the wind. So it was crazy. We'll take it. Take the base.
Has your phone been blowing up though?
It has. I've gotten a lot of texts being like, "Are you okay? You've been icing it. Has the doctor made a decision?" Like those kind of funny texts. But no, it's been awesome. It's been really funny. But yeah.
That's amazing. Well, you guys swept the series, which great. You're off to a phenomenal start, and part of that start has been your shortstop, Isa Torres. Oh my goodness. So, what's it like playing alongside someone of her caliber?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. My first reaction is like it's inspiring. Like, she has just taken all of the freshmen, all of the players under her wing, and just helped us grow together. Obviously, there's 9 of us freshmen that came in, and she took us under, really just helped us through the failures and those little growing moments, especially in the fall and now in the spring and in the tougher games too, especially in Clearwater. We started off like dipping our toes into those really, really competitive games to get us ready for ACC play, ACC tournament, and so forth. And I think it's truly been just a great experience. She has just taught us so much about pushing through failure, owning who we are, just playing as a whole, like doing our part, but playing as a whole, pushing through to that failure. That is inevitable. Obviously, softball is a sport of failure. And so the more that we can push through that failure, the better that we're going to be and the better that we're going to embrace each other.
That's amazing. And it's probably such a blessing to have someone like that. And, you guys have 9 freshmen. So to have that type of leadership, how do you guys lean on each other, especially as freshmen going through this for the first time?
For sure. I think, again, we're sisters. Like, Team 43, we are a sisterhood. We love each other so much. We would do anything for our left and our right, and I think that's something so special. Oh, did doggo? That's something just so special about us is we truly just dive in for each other. Like, we're in conditioning, we're pushing each other, we're we're loving on each other, like, through the hard, right? And I think that's when you really learn the most about each other and learn the most about the team is when you're pushing through that hard, are you cheering for each other? Are you with each other? Or are you just staying silent? You're doing your own grind, like, and I think that's something so special about us. And I think the 9 freshmen, we've grinded through some hard times together, and I think that's something so special is that there's 9 of us to do it together. Um, and I think just as a team as a whole too, we've grinded, we've put in so much work, and I think now it's a matter of time, not a matter of time. It is time that we are showing it to you guys.
I mean, it's not going unnoticed, right? Like, and it's hard to even, it's not, I wouldn't say ignore is the right word, but like when you have several freshmen in your starting lineup, you notice. And especially freshmen making such a large impact. I mean,
Yes.
you're catching. I mean, right? Like the shoes that you're filling too, right?
Mhm.
So do you have a relationship with Michaela Edenfield? Like, have you like picked her brain at all
Yeah.
about catching all these pictures?
Yeah, so she was actually just here for our alumni weekend this past weekend. We had her and a ton more alumni come out. So that was just a great weekend. Chatted with her a little bit. We had a little pitcher and catcher chat with her and Kat Sandercock as well, and we just had a great conversation about connection, a staff. With the catchers, were there too, which I think is so special. It's not just a pitching staff; it's a battery, and I think that goes unnoticed in college softball too, where there's so much on the staff, but it's truly the battery, right? Like the pitcher, the catcher, they give the juice to the whole team. Like they set the tone, and I think that's something so special about us is the battery is so connected. All the pitchers, all the catchers, like we are a unit and we are a group and we are working together and we're going to achieve what goal we need to achieve that day.
You talk about alumni weekend. Lacey Waldrop had her number retired. What was like seeing that and knowing that like, you have a good career and you could be, one of those?
Yeah, it was surreal to see that. Like she is such a legend here. She did so many incredible things and she's such an awesome human too. And I think that goes beyond any of the accomplishments, right? Just such an awesome human and just to see that it's kind of made me like teary-eyed a little bit. Like it's like she did so much for this program. She's such an awesome human and it's just cool to see that being recognized and I think she deserves all of it. She deserves all of the credit. The whole jersey retirement ceremony. It was cool. It was an awesome moment just to celebrate what she has paved for us, just paving the way for future Knowles and softball future. What she has done is incredible.
And not being from Florida, right? Like you're not
Yes.
from Florida either. You're kind of, I mean, she's from Virginia. You're
Hmm.
from North Carolina. You're close enough.
Yes.
So like, creating a path
Yes.
for players to have a huge impact on a program far from home.
100%. Yeah. And I think most of the freshmen too, and a lot of the team as a whole, are not from Florida. So I think that's kind of cool too. And we also have a freshman from Virginia. So like that was a cool little connection moment. But yeah, so just seeing people who are out of state having so much success and you can tell that they found their second home here. And so it's just so inspiring for me and other people who are out of state that they're going to find their home here in Tallahassee and with Florida State. So it's awesome.
What was it about Tallahassee that you knew was home?
The family. I mean, the coaches truly they're invested in you as a person. And that was one thing for me in the process where they're obviously softball's great. Softball is a fantastic sport, does so many awesome things, but what's most important is how you're going to grow as a human, and that was so important to me. And I think the coaches here and the people here just truly invest in you. And it goes way beyond softball here. And I think that's something that truly drew me to Florida State. And it's a family. Like I said, this is home. This is my home. And I will say that probably for the rest of my life. And I have no shame in saying that simply because everybody's so welcoming. They're truly invested in you as a human.
That's incredible. Like, and some people spend their entire collegiate career looking for that, right?
For sure.
So to have that immediately is just it's probably helping you perform at the level that you're performing.
100%, for sure. Just when you know that your teammates have your back and your coaches are always gonna be with you, like, it makes playing the game so much easier, so much more free. Like, I feel like I can just do me, play free. It's awesome. It's a good experience.
Well, it's incredible. Okay. Well, unfortunately, news hit that you won't be playing Texas Tech this week, but we turned the attention now to Cal.
Yes.
So, I mean, disappointed a little bit not to play Texas Tech.
Yeah, that was definitely a matchup we had checked on our calendars. We were really looking forward to the matchup, especially after Clearwater, such a close game. I know we've grown as a team and we put our best against their best and it would be a grind and I think it would be an awesome game and But yeah, unfortunately that won't be happening. But eyes toward Cal, and we're gonna hopefully do well and hope take the series.
How does that change your week? Like from having a midweek to not having a
Mhm.
midweek to does that change kind of how you prepare?
Yeah, I think a little bit more focusing on the body, like a little bit more rest recovery, doing stuff that we can to take care of the body for the weekend, especially with an extra day that we have not playing them. So I think it's just a matter of let's take more quality reps, take more, a little bit more load off the body so we can be even more fresh for Cal. And so I think that's a little bit advantage that we have is coming into the weekend, we'll be a little bit more fresh, have some really, really good practices, really good individuals. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck
thank you
and
so much.
I appreciate you joining me this morning through all of our adventure.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll be watching you and hopefully we can circle back and have you on later this season.
Yes, 100.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was freshman catcher from Florida State, Anna Hinde, and she's just awesome. Like, I mean, talking about her moment on the big stage on national TV. At the end of the day, that's streaming. I would call it national TV. But to be able to joke about it now is just a breath of fresh air. So thanks to Anna for joining us this week. Unfortunately, like we said, Florida State and Texas Tech will not be playing on Wednesday. And honestly, it's a huge hit for Texas Tech because if you look at the rest of their schedule, Florida State was their last ranked opponent as of right now. They do not play Oklahoma State during the regular season. RPI wise, they're missing their game with Stetson as well due to travel issues. And I think this trip, these two midweek games were going to be huge for them, especially with their RPI and strength of schedule, which the RPI, look, they're in the top 10. Yes. Their strength of schedule, not in the top 10. So if you want to know where they are in the top 10 or where they are with their strength of schedule, you can check out Nicole Ritz's story on our site that will detail the RPI a little further and where everyone stands, especially Texas Tech after their series with Arizona that saw them drop the first game via run rule to the Wildcats in Lubbock. But don't worry, Texas Tech was able to run rule Arizona in the next two games to win the series. But to talk about the RPI a little bit more, it has been such a hot topic in college softball as to determining the postseason field. And I had a chance to talk to a former Division I coach last week in a pre-recorded interview. It kind of goes on with a previous story that we have on the website about RPI, about strength of schedule, about teams playing other teams that they may not have any business playing. And I say that because it stood out at the time when Oklahoma played Alabama State in 3 games in Norman as part of a 5-game weekend and put up 30 plus runs in the first game against ASU. And I spoke to Todd Bradley, the former head coach of Alabama State, to kind of get a feel for what his thoughts were. He also has an idea where he feels like some of these Power 4 teams should pay more in a guarantee to teams like Alabama State to make that trip worth their while. And it's a very interesting conversation. And I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I had talking to him. It's fascinating to hear the perspective of a former Division I coach who had to budget his schedule accordingly. And like you mentioned, a trip to Norman, while it's great, it's a great experience. Logistically, financially, was it worth it? And how does that become worth it in the future? So without further ado, here's that conversation with Todd Bradley. Todd, how you doing? How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I am so excited that you agreed to join me today because your idea, the story that we ran over the weekend, did very well. And I think while it's hot and while the topic of guarantees is something that people are starting to become interested in for softball, it'll be a good conversation to have and kind of let softball folks know how it all works. So where did your idea come from? Like, Is it something that you've been cooking up for a while? Is it something that you kinda sat on? How did this even come up?
Well, I mean, I coached for a long time, and I understand that when you get guarantees and stuff, softball guarantees are going to be different than other bigger sports like football. But ultimately, if schools have an opportunity to kind of build stats or stack wins or whatever, like I know for a fact being at some smaller schools, whether it be Division II or Division I, that money could help those budgets and it can help you achieve a lot more. And I think that one thing that can kind of came to the forefront is, well, let's find out a way that one, maybe power fours play more power fours, whether it's in a different conference, um, probably not in the same conference, but in a different conference. But then also, you only need 8 runs after fives. Is there really a reason to score 18, 25, 30 runs against the team, especially when you are hosting a team that's going to be an experience for those players to be able to play against you in your venue? Do we really need to score 25 plus runs against them?
That point, I think some of the teams this weekend that scored 20, 25, 28, 30, 32, however many, when they're scoring that many, is it is it do you think it's got this weird feeling on the other end watching them? They're not necessarily, like, stepping off the base early or, like, giving up outs, but you can see when it starts to become a one base at a time situation, but everybody is still taking their hacks. So, at what point is it, like, pull the starters and some players who aren't gonna get much playing time maybe the rest of the year, at least from your perspective?
Well, I mean, I think if you're in a game situation, you come out, say you score 6 in the first inning, let's just say. Okay, the game is still competitive. It's still within reach. But then once 6 turns to 12 or 15 or that kind of stuff, it's not going to hurt to get some other people some ABs, number one. But number two, I think you want the other team to still give you quality reps and you still want them to be competing and you want them to still feel like they have some fight. So, ultimately give them that opportunity to stay in the game, around the game, that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that you call the dogs off in a situation like we're going to step off the base because we're at a time limit or whatever. I just think that there's probably some ways that you can slow the amount of runs that are going to happen against a team that might be down. So I think I mean shoot, and then there's just going to be some times that, hey, guess what? We weren't trying to do extra. We weren't hit and running. We weren't bun running. We weren't taking extra bases. We weren't doing that, and we still continued to get hits. And we're not going to take that away from 'em. I understand that part as well, but I think that there's ways to be able to kind of lessen that if you're strategic without obviously ruining the statistics and the things that your players are accomplishing.
Yeah. Is there a way for the head coach of a program who gets shelled like that? Do you prep your players ahead of time? And do you go in knowing that it's a mismatch and that you're probably not on the same level, or do you treat it like any other game, like you have a shot?
I think every coach is probably a little bit different. I think that if I think for myself, I was never going to go from the aspect of I'm going into this game already down 5 runs.
Mhm.
We're going into the game to compete and to give them our best shot. But that's just me. I think obviously you can go look at a school that's ranked it in the top 5 or the top 3 or whatever, and you're like, yeah, you and your staff even can look at it and go, "We don't match up anywhere," you know? And it could get crazy. But you still want your players to go out and compete because you're teaching them life lessons as well. I think that I've always said it's not our job to stop us. It's the other team's job to stop us. And if they don't, then they don't. But I also kind of have a heart as well, and I think that there's certain things you could probably do to kind of keep it at a minimum. Yep, win the game, kick someone's butt, great, but I don't think it has to be an embarrassment because of the fact that the team that's coming to your place to play is coming for that experience to be able to play against you.
Yeah. You talk about the experience. So you were the head coach at Alabama State. Alabama State went into Norman over the weekend, 3 games, and they were more competitive with each game, I will say. They
Mhm.
scored more runs with each game. But when we look at the overall picture of what happened in Norman, you can't help but wonder, was it worth it? And was it worth, you know, flying or busing, however they traveled to
Mhm.
make $2,500 and to get hotel rooms, um, when you're budgeting a team like that, is that worth it?
Right. I think that yes, I can understand from the coaching aspect that the experience for your players is worth it. Let's go on that big stage and let's play. But ultimately, like back when I was there and other schools, so not just Alabama State, but I want to make sure that if we're getting a guarantee, we want to be able to hopefully cover the trip or get the trip as close to a normal trip as possible. For instance, if we're going to play at FAMU, that cost us for a weekend for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, let's say. Okay, well, you're going to give me a guarantee that is this, so it's respectable or it's close to what it would for us to travel for a conference game and that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think that and I've thought this for a long time, and some of the times when I was in the game, I didn't necessarily speak it or whatever, but, a big thing with softball coaches around the country is we wanna continue to grow the game and make the game bigger and better. That means that I feel like that if you are in a Power 5 position or a Power 4 position now, there should be enough teams for you to play in other Power 4 conferences, and they don't even have to be the best teams in those other conferences, but there should be teams for you to play, be competitive with, play 7 innings, and hopefully make your team better instead of, for lack of a better term, running it up on somebody that might not have as much talent as you.
I think there was a video that went viral from Norman where the Alabama State girls, like, went into their dugout and did a cheer with them. I
Mhm,
think that was part of the experience,
mhm,
right?
absolutely.
But
I'm sure it was.
do you think it gets overshadowed by what happened on the field? At least from the perspective that you have now.
I think that those experiences are important because in life, like when you go out after you graduate, when you get into the career world and stuff, some of those girls and other people that you meet in the other dugout, they might be colleagues. They might be people that you need to lean on, and you have that ability to be able to reach out now, and you've made that connection and that kind of stuff. I know I always think about too, I guess now it's not like I'm getting younger either, so I think about a bunch of stuff nowadays, but, um, I always think too, when you're looking back and you're talking to your grandkids and your kids and your nieces and nephews down the road, and you're like, "Hey, in 4 years, my team won 150 games. 150 games. We made that's 37 point something wins this season. That's pretty awesome. Like, that's what you're sharing as part of your legacy." And I think that's sometimes more important than saying, "Hey, you know what? I had an opportunity to play against Oklahoma, and my experience, yeah, we lost 32 to nothing." You know what I'm saying? So the legacy of being a winner and competing at the highest level and being able to say that you and your team accomplished this throughout 4 years, that's the experience that I'm saying that I would want, versus saying, you know what? Yeah, I got an opportunity to play this place, this place, this place, this place, and maybe I wasn't successful there, or I didn't get to win a lot of games at those places.
That's fair. So when you doesn't matter where you were at the time, whatever school you were at, when you are looking at your schedule, putting together your schedule for the year, are you trying to keep your budget in mind at the same time? Like, how difficult is that? Because I think with softball, we don't talk a lot about what a softball budget is. We don't talk a lot about, we just don't talk about the money a lot. Like in football, we know that, I mean, a mid major to go play a Power 4 could make anywhere between 500,000 and $1,000,000, right? Sometimes more. We're not on that level, so we don't really talk about it.
Right.
2,500 for a weekend, how does that stack up for a budget?
Kind of like I said, I think it depends, but I think it depends on where you're traveling and how you're going to travel to
Mhm,
that tournament. I mean, the majority of universities around the country, they have contracts with hotels and other places that you can stay. And so a lot of the rooms and stuff that you're getting in your contract will be stated like, hey, we'll take care of 15 rooms for you. Well, most of them are comp to that university anyway. So it's not like money's changing hands per se.
mhm.
Now, it's 4,000, 3,000 that isn't coming out of your budget, which is a good thing. Um, and then they give you 1,500 bucks or that kind of stuff. Well, if you go on a 3-day trip on a bus, if you go on a 3-day trip on a bus, it might cost you, depending on whether you're chartering or your school owns the buses, chartering's going to be more. It could cost you 6 grand, let's say for a bus trip, depending on where you're going. So if it costs you 6 grand and they're giving you 1,200 or 1,500, obviously you're not necessarily made. Now it will absorb some of that, but then you still have meals for 25 players, and let's just say on a low end you're at on a low end like 30 bucks a day times 25 players that you're traveling with, or 22 I think. And if you're paying for hotels, now you're getting 15 to 20 rooms, I'd say. And so now that 1,500 bucks might not be completely 100% worth it. So one thing that I like to look at it too is if our bus, let's say we're taking a bus and the university over at ASU owns the buses. So if you're going to pay, say, $3,000, and this trip might only cost us 1,500. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna probably make 1,500 bucks. That's probably a good idea for us to take that guarantee. But I think that sometimes it's like, oh, they're gonna give me this, but it's gonna cost $3,000 more than what they're giving me. Like, I don't know that it's worth it in order to do it. But also everybody's different. I know I like to try to, in the 4 years a player was at my school, regardless of where it was. We had girls from all over the country. We like to play at least once during their 4-year career near their home, so
Mhm.
that more people from back home and stuff could come watch them and all of that stuff. I think those things are important. Sometimes you do spend a little bit more to do some of those things, and those are experiences that you want your players. I know I had a few girls from California, and we went and played in a tournament at Sacramento State one year, and they talked about the highlight of their year being the opportunity to go back and play in front of their friends and family in California. So, for those reasons, those are the experiences that I want them to really have and remember. So that's why I kind of put these thoughts on paper recently, when I just saw growing the game should be growing the game together, not growing the game separately. So the haves have more, and the have-nots are continuing to try to catch up.
Yeah. Is it Do you think if we were to stay at this level, right, where the haves have everything, the have-nots still don't have everything? Okay, so somebody asked me this question on another podcast last week, and they asked me where I thought the game would be in 10 years. And my answer was based on what we're seeing right now, I feel like we're headed in the direction of football where we're going to have something similar where we have an FBS and an FCS system, and you have your Power Four and your Group of Five.
I've been thinking there needed to be FCS and FBS anyways.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see the separation, as with NIL especially, the separation between the schools that can afford to go out and buy their roster compared to the schools that can't.
Correct.
And I don't know how in 10 years, if we continue on this path, how some of these schools can survive.
Yeah, I honestly said I honestly said that when NIL kind of started. I was like, there I just don't know that some places are going to be able to survive because it's gonna take dollars and people and people. And I feel like that's kind of what we've seen with like Utah with and they, some of that stuff. And I it's just it sucks because college athletics has always been college athletics, and now it's not as much about academics, which for me is always something that's been number 1, is allowing
Mhm,
those people to have a platform in order to graduate and do the things that they want in life as a career. And now it's like, well, if you can win us a championship, and if you don't get a play, then you take something better from somewhere else, or and it's just not the same. There's no opportunity for people to learn and maybe to get knocked down a little bit but find a way to get back up. So I think that at some point you wonder when the supply of money is going to run out.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, you look at schools like Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, their school president misappropriated like $40 million,
Really,
and there was a trickle-down effect.
man, you get
There was a
way more
trickle-down effect.
information than I. That's why you have the job you have. You got your ear to the grindstone, that's for sure.
I look, and it's things like that when when that happen and the first, round of sports affected by something like that are your non-revenue sports,
Hmm.
which softball falls into at most schools.
Right.
And so, like you said, like when the money runs out, what happens? We're seeing across the country, we're seeing schools start to cut programs.
Right.
Like because they can't keep up with it. Iowa State just cut gymnastics to bring in a new sport with that is equal or lesser operating costs.
Right. Right.
And which to me sounds like I think the big thing right now is like women's flag football, right? You don't need a new facility for it,
Mhm.
and you don't need new practice facilities for it. You just need scholarship
And they
money.
don't wear shoulder pads or helmets, which costs a lot. Yeah. So I completely understand. And it still puts, for lack of a better term, it still puts butts in seats, which for FTE,
Mhm.
full time enrollment dollars and stuff, that's important too. But certain parts of the old plan, the FTE, they keeping the doors of the university open, and some of those things don't really change. So how is this new monetary paid for championships, players, that kind of stuff, how is that going to fit into the old as well? And so, I mean, I even saw a thing the other day where Sankey from the SEC was like, we have to put more emphasis back on academics. So now all of a sudden you feel this push and pull from everything because everything's like, oh, that's a good idea. And we try it and then we're like, oh, that wasn't a good idea, or this isn't as good of an idea as we thought. So I just think that, it's hey, and that's kind of what I was saying when we first talked, and I'm like, okay, you know what? If they need this win or these wins bad enough,
Mhm.
and then they want to beat us 20-0, it's fine, pay for it. How important is this win to you? Pay me $1,000 per
Right.
run that you score more than me. All right. So, and that's why I said 1,000. Like, let's make it worth it. And guess what? Like, for instance, like you used the example with ASU, like $32,000 is a big chunk of change for the softball program and their budget. So hey, now maybe we're gonna be like, "Hey, let's fly to Oregon, let's go someplace and let's play these guys," and all of a sudden, but then if those schools still want to play the smaller schools, that's fine. How are they gonna do it? Well, we're gonna come to your
Mhm.
venue and play, because then there's not the guarantee, so I'm not s spending $20,000 for you to come to us, but we're gonna come play at your place. Well, how big is that? That's huge, because now ticket sales, community involvement. If Oklahoma, if Arizona State, if somebody comes and plays at Alabama State or plays at Mississippi Valley or plays at some of these places, at UT Chattanooga, whatever, like the community's going to get behind that, and they're going to come out, and you're still going to see benefits from that from a financial standpoint as well. So I think it can help, and just like we were talking, if some of these smaller schools are going to have troubles continuing, like, all right, this is an opportunity for some of these smaller schools to make a little bit of money too, while still giving the experience to their kids.
Right. Yeah. I think that's at the end of the day, like you got to be able to give the kids the experience that they signed up for
Mhm.
when they committed to playing college softball, and at the same time, you have to keep your program afloat.
Correct.
It's like
And you have to do your
I
part.
don't envy any coach right now. Yeah.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
kinda like even
Well,
2 years ago when I retired from coaching collegiately, it was like you could go to bed at night, and you could wake up in the morning, and there's a new rule, proposal, something else that now you have to follow, and you're just like, "Man," like, it just keep pouring it in, because and just to maneuver through all of the new rules and expectations that are coming down from the top down. I spoke to a friend of mine that's in compliance, and I was like, "How do you keep up with it?" They're like, "I just read a lot, because it's gonna keep coming out." And then in that role, you have to know the rule, but then you have to be able to interpret the rule so that you can make sure all of your coaches are performing the duties that the rule creates for them. So yeah, it's ongoing.
I don't envy anyone in it. I'm glad I just get to write about it. But I think this is a conversation that was important for people to hear, like how life is at that mid-major level. And I hope that reading the story that we put out with your idea
Mhm.
will help some other coaches realize that they have more power than maybe they think they do, because guarantees are always negotiable.
Correct.
Like, you don't have to take what is offered. And if someone doesn't want to pay you that, then that's okay. Like,
Exactly. Someone else
someone's going
might
to,
and somebody might not, but yeah, I agree.
and hopefully it becomes more of a regular discussion in the future. So I appreciate your time and I appreciate you joining me. I know we'll be in touch throughout the year. That was Todd Bradley, former head coach of Alabama State, former coach at Fresno State, Utah State, you name it, he's been there. Campbell. Interesting conversation, interesting opinion. And it was a unique lens to look through. And we don't talk about guarantees in college softball like we do in football. Like we talked about, when you think of the guarantee in this day and age, you remember App State, going to Michigan and getting paid a boatload of money to beat Michigan in the big house. And that's what we're starting to see in softball. It will not be on the same level as football. There's no way a softball team is going to pay a million plus as a P4 school to play a mid-major. That's just not going to happen. We don't have that type of money in our budget. But it is a conversation that we need to start having, right? Earlier in the season, we learned that Texas Tech made more than $10,000 off of South Carolina last year going to South Carolina for a 3-game series. So we're seeing it. We're seeing that number start to go up for sure, but it will never. I don't think it'll ever reach six figures, 7 figures. I don't think we're gonna see that. And if it does, we know we've hit the big time. So hopefully, maybe in the future. Definitely not right now. So want to thank Anaheim from Florida State. Want to thank Todd Bradley for joining me on this week's episode of the Softball on SI podcast. And follow along with our work on social media at Softball on SI. You visit the website, si.com/on/si/softball. And you find all of your latest and greatest stories, all your controversies, anything that you want to read, it's probably there. So thanks for joining me this week. And I look forward to talking to you again next time.